Okay, now this function is supported by tests, so we can refactor it safely. Let's finally understand what it does. This step length depends on three unknowns: a random number, a width of a text, and this user-defined factor. I'd like to simplify this expression to make it look like this. Just a random number, a width, and some magical ratio, which I'm going to calculate separately for the sake of clarity. By default, if there is no scale of shaking specified, this ratio was basically 2%. And then it was multiplied by this strange thing, which is a user-defined factor taken as percentage points, if this factor was provided by a user. I think I can simplify it to this. And now this multiplication and this division may be joined together, so we can just multiply this percentage by this very small fraction. This code is still a bit weird, I guess, but anyway, I hope it will be slightly easier to grasp. But the main question, of course, would be, is this code still working as it did before? Yeah, my test is satisfied, and I'd like to see it in the browser just in case. Shit, I forgot about the MJS extension here. Maybe I should rename index.js to MJS for consistency, but I'm too lazy. Okay, that will do. Now it's beautiful, covered with tests, and even still working. Amazing. As always, it's hard to stop refactoring. Now I can't resist extracting all this stuff that calculates a new translate value, because you really have to make a serious effort to understand the purpose of these several lines. So it will be good to isolate this code and give it a straightforward name. Let's say that instead of all this stuff, I just called this new function that will take an old translate value, modify it, and return the modified one. This function is supposed to be impure because it modifies a value that is passed to it as an argument. And in theory, it's something unsafe. Of course, it's not too difficult to make it a pure function, but I have a more radical idea about that. Let's get rid of this translate value at all. At least let's try it and see what happens. I am not quite sure if we get any benefit from accumulating these steps in a variable. Now we are keeping track of the current position, and it brings an additional burden of checking if a new position is within a permissible area. And I'm afraid that all this work may be unnecessary. I suspect that we can produce a decent motion making these steps from 0 every time. Let's better call it getTranslateX. And I'll paste the old code here and think what is still relevant for the new simplified design. Of course, we still need to calculate the step length. And then we have to randomly decide if this step should be made to the left or to the right. So this condition is considerably simplified. And finally, I want to make it a one-liner with a ternary operator. Or maybe even make it so short. No, I don't think so. Now I also don't need this maximum horizontal shift. But the width is still necessary, and of course it should be passed to getTranslateX function along with the options object. Let's try it in the browser. Frankly, I don't see any visible difference from what we had before. But maybe it's slightly too wide. That's simply because there is a huge scale of shaking passed to our main function. I'll remove this argument and try again. Now I see a default scale of shaking and it's a bit too small. The limit is basically defined by this number, so I'll make it bigger. Refresh. Now it looks perfect. Try a long text. Again too wide. But whatever, I can't make it nice for all sizes of text.